Good afternoon, Bill. Pleasure speaking with you today.
Well
For
said, Adam.
Thank you, sir. For those that are listening in for this special edition of our Seaway Compass, I'm Adam Tindall-Schlicht, Administrator of the Great Lakes St. Lawrence Seaway Development Corporation, here for a fireside chat with William Bill Scriber, the Director of the Port of Oswego in New York, who has been a dedicated leader in the Great Lakes St. Lawrence Seaway maritime industry, and indeed the maritime industry around the world. He's played a key role in advancing our system. Now, as Bill is currently preparing for his retirement at the end of 2024, we wanted to sit down with Bill for a reflective conversation, an electronic fireside chat. Um, Bill, thank you for joining me for this discussion of your career journey, the growth that we've witnessed at the Port of Oswego during your tenure, and for a discussion on some of the policy initiatives and work that you've contributed to, everything from green shipping to infrastructure investment, and what you think the future holds for the Seaway system in the years ahead. Um, Bill, so my first question for you, sir, is what led you to the port and what led you to the maritime industry?
Well, first, let me take the maritime industry. I worked for a number of years as a freight forwarder for a major corporation. I was in charge of their major accounts. I learned how to move ugly stuff from point A to point B quite effectively and profitably. So that kind of got me in the whole field of ocean shipping and logistics. Also, in a military career, I had a short military career. I graduated from an Army logistics school,
Hmm.
uh, where I was taught how to move everything from people to bullets, guns, and tanks. So that taught me a lot about how to do the job I'm doing now, which is create a point A to point B at a reasonable cost. How I got to the port is a long story. I'll make very short. There was an opening for a position, civil service of a manager of administrative services. I took the test, scored number one, got appointed, uh, and which I stayed until 2017 when the board relieved then current director we had in 2017. It was in December, and they asked me to take over the position.
Hmm.
And I moved from the acting director to the permanent director within a year. So, long story short, that's my history.
Wow. So, as you look at this time since 2017, what would you say are some of your proudest achievements as port director? And how would you reflect on the impact or how they've helped to shape the Great Lakes St. Lawrence Seaway system overall?
Mhm. Well, I guess my proudest achievements is in the 6 years I've been the director, we won the Pace Center Award for those years.
Amazing.
So we here at the port have expanded our international trade through the St. Lawrence Seaway. Before that, we rarely won an award. So I'm very happy about that. We also locally here at the port, I was named in 2023 to the top economic developers in the state of New York. And that was basically out of the 2022 report of the port contributing to the economic vitality of central New York by over $500 million per
Amazing.
year.
Wow.
Uh, and then recently, just this year, I was appointed to the New York State's top transportation power 100 list. Now, I didn't beat the director of Port of New York, New Jersey, but it's noteworthy to say that I did score 73 on a list out of 100 people in New York. So I'm happy with that. And recently, I've been very happy that I just happened to add up the amount of money and federal and state grants we've received at the port in the 6 years, over $38.6 million. And they've been aimed at actually creating a port that is more viable as far as using our export viability here in upstate New York.
Spectacular. And I, for one, as the White House appointed administrator of the Great Lakes St. Lawrence Seaway, have been so honored over the 2 years that I've had this role to see ways that the bipartisan infrastructure law and the Inflation Reduction Act are really helping create new opportunities for federal and state monies to come in to catalyze really amazing new transportation infrastructure projects that are changing Great Lakes ports. But let's dig into that a little bit. I know you as someone who cared deeply about stabilizing a really sustainable economic model for the Port of Oswego. I know I've seen your work firsthand. I've seen your leadership as port director firsthand. You're forward thinking, you're strategic. As you reflect on your experience as a port director, specifically in our system, anything that you would share for other U.S. and Canadian Great Lakes ports as they look to their future?
Well, when I got to the Port of Oswego, though I'd been here in the number 2 position, I didn't have, I should say, the ability to make changes. What I did see is there was no plan for the port, no business plan, no strategic plan. And I learned from my corporate experience, unless you have a plan, you fail. So I set about basically putting down a model plan. It was a business plan of sorts of what we needed to do. For too long, we relied on 1 or 2 revenue streams. My first big plan was to diversify revenue. You have to pick from many different pots and to survive. I sold, I guess you could say, advocated for the first ever grain export facility in New York and Lake Ontario. That was a $15 million project. We were very successful. In fact, in 2022, we had the first grain ship out of the St. Lawrence Seaway. So that has been something that's a new revenue stream. In fact, we have right now a major customer, DeLong Grain, out of Wisconsin. And all today, I've been watching the farmers. We have over 100 farmers bring their grain in locally into the port. They'll be going back out through the St. Lawrence Seaway in a few weeks. Next, we look to a port without rail is not as good as a port with rail, I should say. So I've embarked on a rail expansion project. It's taken me 6 years to get where I'd like to be. And it's going to follow me when I retire because we have close to $8 million in rail improvements. We right now have the largest operating rail yard in Oswego County that's private. And by the end of 2025, we'll have the largest private operating yard, excluding CSX's yard in DeWitt, in central New York. And that's important because we need the ability to put stuff on rail, on water, and be a total intermodal customer one-stop shop. Also, if I can be a little long-winded, the one problem we had is we didn't have a foreign trade zone. And I initiated 2 years ago the start of a foreign trade zone at the Port of Oswego, FTZ. And we're the only one in Oswego County, and we're the only one in New York on Lake Ontario. It's already proved to bear fruit, and it will be even more important as we look to that fab plant that's going to be about 25 minutes from the port's gate in Cicero, New York. But I didn't forget just all the industrial stuff, Adam. We are a state authority, and I have tourism also on our minds. We added in my first year 12 new slips to one of our marinas we own, which was Oswego Marina, the only deep water marina on this side of the lake. Either side, you have to go to Rochester and Buffalo to get deeper water marinas. And just to give you an idea, we are the number 1 charter boat, I guess, hub on this side of the lake. It brings in over $2 million in tourism dollars per year. I also got the money from the state of New York 3 years ago to build a new marina. It's called the Global Dry Dock Marina, 24 slips on our west side. So now we are also in the marina business, and doing that, we added an RV park to that. So my goal of diversifying it was not just commercial, but tourism dollars too. That's important.
It is remarkable to me hearing you tell the story of the last 6 years of your career at the Port of Oswego, how much your port's journey is representative of what we're seeing across the Great Lakes and countless other ports, seeking modern, new opportunities for multimodalism, expanding opportunities for commercial growth, providing for the community through improving recreational access to the freshwater assets of the Great Lakes, and doing so in a fiscally balanced and thoughtfully responsible way. It's remarkable what you've accomplished in that context. Anything else that you would add by critical infrastructure investments, or rather, we could pivot and as you look at the strategic investments that you've made, were you responding to key trends in Seaway shipping? And how do you think the port has had to adapt to some of that market demand?
Good question, Adam. I have a motto. I always like to stay 2 years ahead of everything.
Mm.
I'll give you an example. We had a client on our West Pier. We own both sides of the river, WT Oswego. They were traditionally bringing in asphalt by truck, then shipping asphalt out by truck, which means we weren't using water. I had a discussion with them. I rebuilt a dock on the West Pier. $1.6 million later, they're now bringing ships in about every 2 weeks with asphalt, which normally would have been trucks. So what do we do there? We create a new water transportation route to Oswego. We decrease truck trips by 50% off the roads, and we increase water transportation on the St. Lawrence Seaway. All good things. In fact, right now on a dock, we have an operating West Pier dock, which has gone down over the last year and a half. I got a $4 million reconstruction project to put that back into commercial operations. I hope to be cutting the ribbon before I leave on December 31st. I'm looking out over the lake now at it. It's almost done. So we increased our usable dock space at the Port of Oswego immediately when the ribbon is cut by 40%. Why are we doing
It's
this?
staggering.
I know we have contracts of customers for next year and the year after that want more dock space here. The more the Port of Oswego creates business, the more business comes into the Port of Oswego. So with that, I would say infrastructure improvements are crucial to maintaining customer relations and also developing new customer bases.
Well said. I mean, it's so important. You raise some of the major efficiencies of maritime commerce that we know to be true, not just around the world, but and certainly in the Great Lakes St. Lawrence Seaway system. That pivot from truck to maritime commerce has real tangible benefits on a per ton capacity, from wear and tear on surface roads, highways, and certainly carbon efficiency, NOx and SOx efficiency on a per ton basis by shifting that cargo to maritime commerce through the Seaway. So thank you for your vision in doing that. One of the hallmarks of Oswego and its port for a long time has been the aluminum trade. How is that going, and what are some of the other opportunities that you see by way of cargo for the Port of Oswego?
Well, I'm glad you brought up aluminum. We're the number 2 aluminum importer in the Great Lakes. We supply 2 plants. We just finished out last year with the largest amount of aluminum on site in December that we've ever had. Was a historical year. Um, we aggressively sought out customers in order to take those, I hate to say it, off rail and trucks and put it on water, and we were successful.
Mm.
Second of all, grain. I can't say this enough. Grain on water makes more sense than any type of shipment, and we are aggressively marketing our grain facility uh, throughout central New York. And a lot of people don't realize uh, upstate New York is one of the major soybean producers in the United States. I mean, we may rank 10 or 12, but there's 50 states. So we have a large soybean market here. And we also became in 2022 a major windmill component importer. Just as a number I didn't realize until I started cranking numbers with DOT a couple months ago, we handled more wind components parts than the next two ports in upstate New York combined. So we had over 62% of them all. In fact, we got to the point I had to go out and lease additional space, land, in order to do it.
Mm.
So that's something we look forward to in 2025. Um, Overall, I think that my workforce, both my permanent workforce here at the port and my ILA workers, have shown that they're able to handle just about any product and in a very effective and I would say economical way. So that is something that I can't say is infrastructure, but it's something that is people structure that really has helped us develop something that I think that a lot of ports are envious of in the Great Lakes.
Mm. Your point about people structure, I think, is a case in point of just um, how great you are in communicating the importance of Great Lakes St. Lawrence Seaway shipping and the countless individuals, women and men, that support the maritime economy of the Great Lakes on a day in and day basis. Um, Given that, I mean, when you think about the strengths of the Great Lakes St. Lawrence Seaway system and the ways that you've tried to communicate its importance, certainly as port director in Oswego over the last 6 years, what do you want that prevailing message to be in the years ahead?
Well, I think the St. Lawrence Seaway stewardship of the Seaway system in the Great Lakes is very important. We have to make it very clear in both Washington and the state houses that this system is crucial to the national economy. And I mean that in the sense that what the Great Lakes does as far as its shipping contributes greatly to the not only the United States' economy, but its job creation. I've said 100 times, we create jobs here at the port. That's our main job. We do steel, aluminum, grain, and projects that create an environmentally safe environment. We do huge amounts of wind projects. So when you look at the nation, and I know there's a lot of ports on both sides of the coast, I have friends there. Um, but the Great Lakes, I think, is unique, and the Seaway system is unique. And I think you've done a great job in advocating for it in Washington, Adam, and
Thank
that
you.
needs to continue. It needs to continue strongly that the decision makers, whether it be in Washington or state houses, have to support this system and have to recognize its value to the national economy.
Well said. So, given that, where do you envision the port 20 years from now when you think about the groundwork that you've laid, the blood, sweat, and tears that you've given to your organization, to your city, to your county, to your region in central New York? What does that 20-year goalpost look like for you?
Well, I'll be retired. That'll be a good thing. I think I've laid the groundwork. I come from a construction family. My father ran a construction company. I grew up cutting my teeth building houses. I always said, You have to dig the foundation, lay the blocks, and get the house started. I've done that here. I got the foundation for growth at this port. I think that where I see us, if everything stays where it is, I think we'll be a major player in the Great Lakes in the future. There's already plans for a second silo for grain. We have the largest fab plant chip manufacturer just 20 minutes from my gate, which is going to have huge amounts of material. We've increased our warehousing capacity, our rail capacity, and I'm in discussions with Army Corps for harbor deepening. So I think the future here is bright. And I think that not even in 20 years, I think in the next decade, you'll be looking at the Port of Oswego right in line with Cleveland, Toledo, Burns Harbor. It'll be in the same breath for the amount of volume that will be contributing to the St. Lawrence Seaway.
You bring up a chip fabrication plant. I think you're talking in the Micron opportunity. Is that correct, sir?
Yes, I don't want to say it outwardly, but yes. All indications are a lot. I mean, this is a 10-year building project, and the port is a stone's throw from the actual construction site.
What I can tell you, I mean, from my vantage as administrator at the Seaway, working on behalf of the White House, is President Biden, Vice President Harris, and Transportation Secretary Pete Buttigieg, and certainly Commerce Secretary Gina Raimondo have been very committed to the Micron opportunity in Central New York, particularly through a lot of the monies that your region has seen through the passage of the CHIPS Act in recent years. And I share your enthusiasm for what that development could be, and the ways that the CHIPS Act is bringing real impact to your port as well, from that chip fabrication plant that's currently in the works. I look forward to seeing it fully realized through your port and in your community within the next 20 years. Now, when we think about the next 20 years, we also talk about that people economy, the heart and soul of what the Great Lakes St. Lawrence Seaway is, which is her people. What advice, Bill, would you give to the next generation of Great Lakes St. Lawrence Seaway maritime leaders?
Well, a long time ago, when I first got in this business here, over 15 years ago, as far as the port business, a very wise port director told me there's two types of port directors. There's show horses and workhorses. I would give the advice of any new director: be a workhorse. It pays off. I've tried to be one here. I have planned to succeed. I put it down on paper. I have goals set, and I work through it every day. There's not a day I don't come to work that I do not look at my plan, and I try to check off boxes. And at the end of the day, I think that we've come a long way in 6 years. There's some opportunities I wish we'd had earlier, but I never am upset, I should say, that I do not have an opportunity to make things better. I have a great team here, and I would say this also: you have to let your team know where you want to go, because if you don't let your team know where you're going, they don't follow you. So this is another thing I've done, is created a clear mission of where we're going to go and how we get there. And I think the benefits are great, because I took over 6 years ago. Things were not exactly great with the team, but now not only do I have signed contracts with all my unions without issue, I have a fantastic working relationship with what I call the human facility, because the port's just bricks and mortar and steel, but people are irreplaceable. You have to have them to do the job, and they have to be clear in what your goals are. And I think that's what I would pass on to any director should bring his team in or her team in and set goals and basically work as a team.
Well said. Now, a bit of personal fun. I mean, we're talking about your retirement. And as port director, I've known you, you've already alluded to it. You've used strategic planning and visioning and really goal setting as a orientation for the tremendous growth and progress we've seen at the Port of Oswego. Are you going to be bringing that same visioning plan to your retirement, or maybe something a little bit casual? What are some projects or hobbies that you're going to be exploring?
No, I'm planning that too. I'm planning not to get up early every day for a while, at least for 3 months. I've already put an order in for a new fishing boat. I plan on fishing in my retirement. I haven't done that in 6 years. I have a honey-do list that's taller than my 6 feet from my wife. So I'll be spending a lot of time fulfilling all those. I'll do it later, honey. I'll do it next week, honey, to make sure that's done. And I'm planning on building a new house. So we got a little bit of time to think about where and how, but I'm already into pricing materials and getting ready to build a house. It's something I've wanted to do for 7 or 8 years, and the directorship took over all my spare time. That's something I may do. And of course, there's one more thing that I've been asked to do is I've had a couple of requests to do consulting work, but not taking up all my time. So I may, after the first 3 months I take off out of here, I may be consulting with some people in the future. But my wife says if that takes too much of my time, she's going to cut that off. So.
Okay, fair enough. I guess my final question then is, what's something about you that would surprise us, that something that we didn't know, a fun fact about your career, maybe, as you look at it in a rear view mirror perspective?
Gee whiz, I'm not a surprising, I'm a boring individual.
Anything but.
Well, I mean, a lot of people don't know I was in the military for a while. I served in Desert Shield, Desert Storm, Special Operations Command. That was kind of noteworthy. I'm very proud of that. And one of the things I take back as a fun fact on my career is that I know this is personal, but I booked the largest revenue increase in the history of the port in constant dollars. It's something I'm very proud of, and I hope to have my successor best me on, because I would like to see the port grow. But as far as what is unusual about me, I guess that's about it. I've been a very interesting career, and I have had many different turns to it. But as far as something noteworthy, I would say my military career. I really enjoyed that. I was happy to have done it, and one of those things that I'm most proud of.
Thank you for sharing that with us. Bill, that concludes our electronic fireside chat. Just to take it home, I mean, you and I have worked together for many years, and I've had the privilege of working with some incredible people across the entirety of the Great Lakes St. Lawrence Seaway system. And you're at the top of that list. The work that you've accomplished and the dedication that you've shown to the Port of Oswego and the countless jobs that depend on her operation is really remarkable, to say nothing of just the passion, purpose, and perspective that you've brought to the entirety of St. Lawrence Seaway shipping. So with that, my friend, thank you for being such a exceptional colleague these many years. And We will all miss you terribly, and we wish you and your family all the best in the next chapters of your life.
Thank you, Adam. I appreciate it. I am going to miss the Great Lakes community. It is a community, and I'm going to miss your leadership. As I've said to my own staff and many people, really what you've done for the St. Lawrence Seaway is really, in my tenure of over 15 years, hasn't been done. So I'm going to miss having these talks with you and visiting on the various conferences we go to. But I'm looking forward to the next chapter, and you might see me occasionally anyway. So
Good. I like to hear it. It takes a village. It takes a village, and you've been one of those leaders of our village for many a year, and you'll never be far away. And I know that makes many of us very, very happy. So, Bill, congrats and all the best, and we'll talk again soon. How about that?
great. Thank you.
Thank you.